There has been some sneaky buying in the Dragon Ball TCG recently. This sudden volume has led some to believe Dragon Ball is the next target for the Pokebros and is primed to spike, just like One Piece did. While we shouldn't immediately dismiss Dragon Ball as a legitimate TCG contender, we believe this pump might not play out exactly how the flippers hope. Let's break down why. To understand the current movement, you have to look at the history. Dragon Ball is a titan of an IP with over 40 years of longevity, starting as a manga that defined a generation. In the TCG space, it has had a few iterations, but the current landscape is split between Masters, the complex collector-focused classic game, and the newer Fusion World. Fusion World was designed specifically to be more accessible, featuring simplified mechanics and a digital client to rival games like Hearthstone. This accessibility was meant to be the on-ramp for the masses, and it's exactly where the recent volume is concentrating. With the massive success of the Pokemon TCG and the explosive growth of One Piece, investors are naturally looking for the next big thing. Both Pokemon and One Piece can only go so high before seeing a pullback, and the market is chomping at the bit to find an undervalued asset that could replicate that success. The logic is simple. If the investor mentality could send One Piece to the moon, why couldn't it do the same for the grandfather of anime, Dragon Ball? I'll be the first to say I love Dragon Ball. It was my introduction to the world of anime. I grew up raising my hands to lend Goku energy for the Spirit Bomb. I appreciate the characters and the legacy. However, there are major factors weighing against it becoming the next investment darling. Pokemon is, and likely always will be, the king. It has solved the magic formula, a never-ending supply of new video games, new anime series, and new adorable monsters that keep the cycle on repeat. It is a machine that seems destined to run until the end of time. One Piece is also a different beast entirely. It has multiple massive IP plays currently brewing. Collaborations with major sports leagues, the successful live-action series, the ongoing manga, and the new anime reboot. While it may not have Pokemon's repeatable creature formula, it has a sprawling cast of characters that allows for endless card variety. It felt like lightning struck twice when One Piece popped, but that was fueled by a massive, active, and growing fan base that was hungry for the product, not just investors looking to flip. That said, Dragon Ball does have some legitimate bullish news. The recent announcement of the return of the anime adapting the Moro arc is a massive win. This arc features powerful new villains and deep lore that fans have been waiting years to see animated. It proves the franchise isn't dormant and still has the power to generate hype. However, historically, Dragon Ball TCGs have never reached the sustained frenzy of their peers, even with new content on the horizon. Now, let's talk about the buyouts. There are definitely impressive sales happening right now on TCG Player and eBay, particularly for Fusion World. But if you take a closer look, especially at top cards like the Secrets and alternate rares, the market looks artificial. We are seeing cards being bought in the hundreds and then immediately relisted for thousands of dollars. The sellers are hoping for a quick 5 times to 10 times flip, but the volume isn't there to support it. When only a handful of cards are available, it's easy to manipulate the listing price, but you need sustained transaction volume to prove a true price trend. This brings us to the issue of supply. I just don't see enough sealed product or singles listed on major platforms to support a healthy market boom. Sure, you can find product at local game stores or scattered online, but for a TCG to truly pop on a global scale, you need high liquidity. You need thousands of participants buying and selling daily. Dragon Ball currently lacks that volume. Without more inventory circulating, these high prices feel like a house of cards waiting for a breeze. The other major hurdle is demand. The Pokemon boom wasn't just about money, it was sustained by a player base that loved the game and the art. Even if the Poke Bros leave, Pokemon survives. One Piece proved that a dedicated fan base can drive prices up organically. But for Dragon Ball, are we really expecting lightning to strike a third time? In our opinion, no. The demand feels more speculative than organic right now. We don't recommend jumping into the FOMO hoping for an easy payday. However, that's not to say Dragon Ball Fusion World will fail. If cards are legitimately selling for over $1,000, that is incredible for the health of the game. We may see more sellers unlocking their inventory and listing it, which would increase supply and normalize the market. Dragon Ball has a solid base, and it is certainly not knocked out of the fight, not by a long shot. It is a market worth watching, just with a healthy dose of skepticism. Our recommendation is to look at some of the singles that could be undervalued at this time. Get your feet a little wet, but don't go all in on a risky bet. There are a good number of super alternate rares in the low single digits that are worth a look. To help you navigate this, we will be analyzing and following the buying volume on the Dragon Ball TCG and recommending specific cards on our upcoming Hidden Gems report. Follow us to keep track of the news where we will do more digging and follow this story closer. Consider joining our free daily newsletter at tcjplayer.com, and happy collecting.